This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Ben Sears at Ben Sears on Letterboxd.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com, more of our podcasts at ObsessiveViewer.com/podcasts, and you can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. And finally, you can support us on Patreon at Patreon.com/ObsessiveViewer at the minimum rate of $1 per month for access to an exclusive RSS feed with content recorded specifically for Patreon supporters. And also at the $5 level, you get access to exclusive commentary tracks. And at the $10 level, you get access to all of that, plus early access to future episodes before release, and also unreleased episodes on occasion. So once again, check that out, patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. I'm really proud of the stuff that we're putting out over there, and I'm hoping to really do more of that this year. So Ben, hi.
Hello.
How's it going?
Greetings.
Yes.
Wonderful. How's it going?
It is going very well. We actually have a very special and unique episode for the listeners this time around. So this episode is going to be kind of a discussion and breakdown of the Golden Globe award nominees for 2021's Golden Globes, which are going to take place at a certain date that I don't have in front of me. But we're also going to be including an interview that we just did with the writer and director of the film The Swerve, which is currently available on Amazon Prime Video, Dean Kapsalis. So stay tuned for that and check the show notes for timestamps if you want to skip to that and everything. But we're also, this is going to be a special episode, essentially, is what I'm saying.
A very special episode.
Yes. Not like the very special Patreon episode I did where I just talked about getting COVID. So a lot of stuff to talk about. We might also do a potpourri section later. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm excited nonetheless. So, Ben, first up, I think we're going to talk about the Golden Globes. First, how do you feel about the Golden Globes itself? And for context, usually around this time of year, we do an Oscar nominee breakdown. But there are no Oscar nominees because COVID, and they're not being announced until next month. So we're stuck with the Golden Globes.
Yeah, it's funny. I think I can't remember exactly the dates, but I feel like at this point last year the Oscar nominees had been announced.
Yep, definitely.
And we already knew what to look forward to, and. Mm-hmm. I know everyone else has said this already, but it feels like a million years ago that Parasite won, and
it does.
It's now just this is kind of the unofficial kickoff to award season. Yeah, I guess when the Golden Globes are announced. So,
I guess, yeah.
We still got over a month until the Oscars are announced, and then 2.5. Almost 3 months until the Oscar ceremony.
Jeez.
So, it's going to be a long year.
Yeah. And then after that, we get the summer blockbuster season, because theaters are definitely going to be open again by then, and safe. Sarcasm.
Drive-ins.
Yeah. I will probably do some more drive-ins this year, I think.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe.
I hope. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, it's something else. But it's funny because I saw a tweet today from Devin Sawa, who follows Tower Junkies on Twitter, not to brag.
Oh.
But anyway, he tweeted something about how when it's safe to go back to the movie theater, when like AMC is safe to go back to, he's going to go to a movie as soon as possible because he misses it and everything. And then like I was thinking like this is, for context, we're recording this February 4th, Thursday, February 4th. this Sunday is the 50-something Super Bowl. And what I've done in the past, not last year or I think the year before last, I don't know, but like occasionally on Super Bowl Sunday, I made a point to go like during the game or during like the pregame of Super Bowl, I would go to the movies and see a movie because everyone's at home watching the Super Bowl. The chances of having the theater to myself is very high at that point. And like I was thinking about that today. I'm like, fuck, I can't do that.
It's very true. I remember my senior year of high school when I worked at the movie theater. I got stuck with working on Super Bowl Sunday, and that was probably one of the most dead evenings I had ever worked there. So it's a good strategy.
Yeah, that's where I saw Nebraska. The movie.
Okay. In the Super Bowl?
Yeah, in the Super Bowl.
Nebraska doesn't have an NFL team.
Right. Nebraska versus Raising Arizona. Yeah. No, but I saw Nebraska Super Bowl Sunday at the movie theater, and it was me and like two older people who like, I don't know. I'm not going to get into it because this is whatever, but like they were talking throughout it and I'm like, okay, that's fine. But anyway, so I'm not going to be able to do that this year. So that sucks. But better luck next year, I guess. Yeah. So anyway, the Golden Globes were announced. The nominees were announced on, was that yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday morning.
February 3rd. And we're going to kind of just run down them before we get to our interview with Dean Kapsalis. But Ben, first of all, yeah, how do you feel about the Golden Globes as an institution and the Hollywood Foreign Press as a group of people that think The Tourist was a comedy?
Yeah, you kind of just said it all right there. I mean, I don't think anybody really takes the Globes super seriously. They all know that it's just a gambit to get celebrities in a room together and give them free booze and see what happens. So to that end, you go into it expecting some weird stuff to happen. Yeah. This year was no exception, which we'll surely get into in a minute. But I've seen and heard a lot of people getting upset, borderline angry about some of the nominations, and yes, there is some that just don't make sense or are stupid, but I don't know if it's worth getting angry over.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I mean, you gotta set your expectations accordingly.
Absolutely. And it's funny because like in the context of everything that's happened in the last 12 months, it's like I saw a tweet a critic made today that said something like the whole year we wanted it to get back to normal, and then we get but now that fucking pedantic award season conversation is back, and now I don't care or something like that. But but like in the context of like everything that's happened with the pandemic and everything, it's like I don't care if someone didn't get nominated or got nominated in the wrong category or whatever. I'm like it's not as on my radar because I have so much other stuff on my mind.
I'll feel differently about the Oscars. Those are worth, putting some thought and effort into.
I agree. It is the Super
those are
Bowl of
more
movie
respected.
fans.
Yeah.
So let's kind of go through the Golden Globe nominees. Let's start with Best Motion Picture Drama, kind of the big dog of it. The nominees are The Father, Mank, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. So Ben, how many of these 5 movies have you seen, and how do you feel about the nominees in this category?
I've seen all of them except for The Father.
Nice.
I don't think anybody that was not at the Toronto Film Festival has seen The Father, or I guess the lucky ones that got screeners. But it's not out yet. There are several that we'll be getting to that are not out yet, but The Father is one of them. I've heard good things about it, so
yeah, it that was one of the ones that I got a screener for, but a digital screener.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a digital screener for it like right around the time I got COVID, and that was the time when I was going to sit down and watch just a bunch of awards movies, but then I got COVID and died. So yeah, but I didn't see it, but I heard good things. I love Anthony Hopkins, so
Yeah.
yeah. How about Mank? I still have not seen Mank. And I don't know what it is. It seems daunting. I might watch it this weekend. I think this weekend I'm going to make a priority to watch as many awards movies as I have lost.
Mank is good. I don't know. I didn't love it as much as a lot of other critics did.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hate it as much as, from what I have heard, most of the people on Twitter did. Yeah. But from what I understand, there was just a huge weird backlash to it. But
yeah.
I don't know. But I thought it was just fine. I mean,
okay.
I didn't dislike it. I didn't love it. I'll watch it again. But I don't know. It's hard to really accurately explain.
Mm-hmm.
Mank is fine. I really liked Nomadland.
Me too.
Maybe a little bit less than you, but I still liked it a lot.
Okay.
I'm
excited to see that again.
Yeah.
Nomadland, if only for Frances McDormand's performance, because, geez.
Right, yeah, for sure. And that one, I don't know if we've talked about that on the podcast yet. It's coming to Hulu in February. I forget the exact date.
That's right. I think.
But I think I shared that on Facebook at some point, or you did or something. But it's doing like an HBO Max thing. It's coming to theaters and Hulu the same day. So one day in February it'll be there. So if people haven't seen it yet or want to see it again, it'll be on there and it'll be easy to find.
Yep. So it's the film will debut in theaters on February 19th, 2021, after a brief IMAX run, with a simultaneous day one Hulu release. So February 19th.
Man, I wish I could see that in IMAX.
Fucking me too. Yeah. It's. Yeah.
Speaking of Me Too, Promising Young Woman.
Nice. Yes. So we have not talked about Promising Young Woman, you and I, on the podcast. Yet I loved it, and it's gone a little bit out of favor with me in the ensuing months since I've seen it. But it is a very provocative and talked about movie. Like it inspires some interesting conversation. So,
right.
What did you think of Promising Young Woman?
I also liked it a lot.
Nice.
I did not see it before the end of the year, but I think even if I did, I don't know if it would have made my top 10.
Okay.
But I liked it a lot. I really liked the cast in it. I thought it was one of the best casts of the year.
Nice.
Top to bottom, really. And there was one plot development that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, which wasn't a total deal breaker, but still I didn't really care for it. And it's kind of hard to talk about without going into huge detail. But we can talk about that off mic. But
right.
I still liked it overall. There's plenty more nominations for it, and I'm happy for the ones that I got.
Mm-hmm. Did you hear about that backlash that it got? There was a review in Variety, I think, from back when it was at like Sundance last year, that resurfaced where the reviewer said, and I mean I don't know, I'm not going to say whether or not it was like the backlash was warranted, because it's pretty gross when you hear what the part is, but it's one of his issues with it, or one of his criticisms of the movie, was that Margot Robbie was a producer on the movie and wasn't the lead actress, because in his opinion, Carey Mulligan didn't look pretty enough to inspire the actions of men in the movie.
Ugh,
yeah,
gross.
yeah. And I guess Carey Mulligan called attention to that in an interview or something like that, and then Variety put a disclaimer on the reviews and we're sorry.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah, it's very that's one thing that I have grown so angry toward is not just defaulting to oh yeah, she was very pretty or she was very attractive or anything it's not constructive at all, but also the habit that I've seen people have of just critiquing just the appearance when it has nothing to do with the actual plot of the movie.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in this case, whatever, but it just, I don't know, it just seems like such a pointless kind of thing to raise. So anyway, Promising Young Woman, that's exciting. The Trial of the Chicago 7 is the last of the Best Motion Picture Drama nominees. Aaron Sorkin, his movie, it was one of, I watched it, and then I was excited for award season, and then it just kind of fell off, and I don't know. I think it's fine. How'd you feel about the Trial of Chicago 7?
I didn't like it as much as you did, I think.
Okay.
And, yeah, I don't know. I thought it was just kind of formulaic, I guess. It's kind of surprising to me, these awards and the SAG Awards, which, I don't know, we can breeze through or just, I don't know, but those were announced earlier today. But it's kind of interesting to look at. Just it almost feels like Netflix is putting more weight behind this than this and Mank are their main horses in the race. And one thing that we'll get into in a couple other categories is The Five Bloods was one of the bigger, more notable snubs. I mean, it got blanked totally. So
wow,
I feel
for the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. I didn't know it. It didn't get a single nomination?
Not a one.
Jeez. Okay.
So it's kind of interesting. It feels like Netflix is putting more weight behind Trial of the Chicago 7 than The Five Bloods, which kind of sucks because I liked The Five Bloods a lot more. But I don't know. I think it'll probably be Nomadland regardless.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I could see it going to Nomadland, and I'd be happy with that.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah, definitely. Same here.
So this is let's skip down to Best Motion Picture Music or Comedy. I'll just read the nominees. Borat subsequent movie film, Hamilton, not a movie. Music, Palm Springs, and The Prom. How do you feel about this group of nominees?
Yeah, this one. I was texting with a friend of mine the other day, and just I asked him if he had any predictions, and I had mentioned I'm real interested to see where the musical or comedy categories go, because besides Palm Springs and The Prom, I had a hard time thinking of other comedies or musicals that came out last year. Or Golden Globe caliber comedies. I know there were some indie comedies, but just those. I would love to see the Google stats or data or analytics or whatever behind the number of people that Google searched music after this was announced, because I like to think that I stay pretty well abreast of any music news, or not movie news, and just awards buzz and everything, but I had never heard of music.
Me neither. So did you look it up?
Yeah.
Would you mind enlightening me?
So music is a movie directed by Sia, the singer.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like a Rain Man kind of thing.
Okay.
The letterbox plot description says, Zoo, a free spirit estranged from her family who suddenly finds herself the sole guardian of her half-sister, Music, a teenager on the autism spectrum whose whole world order has been beautifully crafted by her late grandmother. The film soon challenges whether it is Zoo or Music who has a better view of the world, and that love, trust, and being able to be there for each other is everything. Kind of sounds like Rain Man, right?
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I could definitely see that. So, have you seen it?
No.
Okay.
It's another one that hasn't come out yet. I think it comes out
gotcha.
next Friday. Something like that. I am kind of curious to see it now, just to see how it is. Just,
yeah.
It doesn't sound good.
Okay. Yeah, it seems kind of just out there. Are you familiar with Sia's music at all? Not the movie, but her actual music.
Her hits, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the ones that have been like on the radio or whatever. I don't listen to her albums or anything, though.
Okay. I mean, I really only know, surprise, really only know the song that was used, her song that was used at the end of 6 Feet Under. The famous finale of 6 Feet Under ends with a montage set to one of her songs, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, very happy to see Palm Springs on this list.
Yes.
Just I adore that movie so much. It's like a cleansing experience. Like it's like the year of 2020, and then you watch Palm Springs, and it's like, you're just it takes away some of the grime.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What would be your pick for the winner for this?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to say Borat, just because like Sacha Baron Cohen and is it Maria Bakalova? They were both nominated, so I that's what I want to win. I don't have a whole lot of confidence behind that, but
yeah.
Can we talk about Hamilton?
Yes.
I don't understand.
He's the $10 founding father without a father. Oh, God damn it.
Son of a whore or something
Son of a whore, yeah.
Yeah.
He got a lot smarter, and I already did this on the podcast at some point. But anyway, yeah.
I don't understand how that works.
Yeah.
Are they just allowing just any staged or filmed musical now?
That's a good question, because it's something that I didn't consider it to be a movie, because it was a filmed stage performance. Like, that's what it was. But on that same note, I haven't seen this, but David Byrne's American Utopia, is that also a staged thing, or how is that structured?
Yeah, it's just like Hamilton. It was on Broadway or off Broadway, or it was a stage show. Yeah, and it was filmed by Spike Lee. And that's all that it is. It's just a concert or musical or whatever. So it's the same thing, yeah. So I would have been much happier if, I mean, Hamilton is, it's Hamilton.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed American Utopia.
Yeah. I remember you speaking very highly of that, so I'll have to see it at some point.
That's another good palate cleanser. It's a feel-good movie.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think Hamilton's gonna win. I loved it. Like, have you seen Hamilton now at this point?
I just watched it the other day, yeah.
Okay. How'd you feel about it?
Pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because it was released. Oh, that's right. Because it was supposed to be released on Disney Plus like in October.
Right.
But then they pushed it up because of the pandemic and everything. So, I mean, and we're recording this obviously in February. So it's interesting that, a lot of people who saw it when it was released, they didn't have to unlike those of us who saw it when it was first released, you really just had to wait for it. That was such a long walk to something that is just not gonna. That did not pan out.
I appreciate your commitment.
Nice,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, because there's Lin-Manuel Miranda was nominated for Best Actor.
Oh, yeah.
I think no, I'm trying to find the supporting category. Because the Globes does a weird thing with supporting where it's all one genre, drama and
drama and comedy. Leslie Odom Jr. Oh, wait, he was nominated for One Night in Miami.
Yes, which I just watched today and really enjoyed.
I've heard great things. I haven't gotten a chance to see it.
Okay.
So yeah.
On that note, Best Director, if you want to scroll down there.
Absolutely.
Regina King nominated for that.
Yes, I've heard great things. Like, and also, I mean, 3 of the 5 nominees are women.
Yes.
So that's awesome. The nominees for Best Director are Emerald Fennell, for Promising Young Woman, David Fincher for Mank, Regina King for One Night in Miami, Aaron Sorkin for The Trial of the Chicago 7, and Chloe Zhao, for Nomadland. So how do you feel about this category?
I'm pretty happy with it.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, Spike Lee would have been a good pick for this one.
Yeah.
I don't know who would have to get kicked out for that, though. Maybe Sorkin, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good omission.
Sorkin or not, Spike Lee would have been good. Charlie Kaufman. would have been nice.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he directed my number 1 movie of the year.
Yeah, this category is pretty fine. I think. My personal pick. I don't know if she will win, but my pick would be Chloe Zhao. I think it's a great director movie. So
yeah, absolutely. Yep. I agree. Do you want to shoot down to Best Screenplay?
Yes.
So the nominees are Emerald Fennell for Promising Young Woman, and Jack Fincher for Mank, Aaron Sorkin for The Trial of Chicago 7, and Florian Zeller and Christopher Hampton for The Father, and Chloe Zhao for Nomadland. How do you feel about this? And do you feel like the Golden Globes should follow suit with every other awards and do a separate original screenplay and adapted screenplay category? Okay.
But this kind of speaks to the Golden Globes whole thing about getting the most celebrities in there, because I mean, other than screenplay and score, there really aren't any like below the line categories.
Yeah.
I had forgot that there isn't even a documentary category. There's no editing or cinematography. It's just
That's
one.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, of the nominees, I'm fine with them. I don't know. I don't know what else I would have put in their place. Sound of Metal had a good screenplay.
Yeah.
Soul, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
One Night in Miami screenplay was very good.
Nice.
But I don't know.
Okay.
All of these, I think, are original. No, Nomadland is
Nomadland.
not.
Yeah.
I don't know about Trial of the Chicago 7, though. I don't know if that was based on a book.
I want to say it's original.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd probably pick Nomadland or Promising Young Woman, honestly.
Yeah. I would personally want to see Nomadland win because just I can't even imagine what that screenplay looks like, just because
it's so natural.
Yeah. They use so many non-actors, and it was it's I don't know. I don't know how they wrote it.
Right. Same here. And I think we'll do the acting categories, but before that, I want to jump over to Best Motion Picture Foreign Language. So here are the nominees. From Denmark, Another Round. Guatemala/France, La Llorona. And from Italy, The Life Ahead. And from the U.S., Minari. And France and the U.S. is Two of Us. So Ben, of these nominees, which have you seen any of them?
I have seen Another Round and The Life Ahead.
Okay, interesting. What did you think of Another Round?
This is all totally my fault, but I didn't totally love it.
Okay.
And I think it's mostly because when I watched it, I just wasn't in a great mood.
Oh, yeah.
So, I need to watch it again under different circumstances, I guess.
Okay.
Because I couldn't really find anything at fault with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, for whatever reason, I didn't love it at the time.
Okay, interesting. Honestly, I regret not putting it on my top 10 because I actually really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
If only because, man, the performance from Mads Mikkelsen, just amazing, mind-blowing performance.
He's great, and I have been a fan of his for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, and the concept is really interesting. It's about a group of men who do an experiment to basically keep a consistent blood alcohol level of a certain percentage just to function. So it's an interesting kind of social experiment, and it's also a deep dive into kind of character and functioning alcoholism and the kind of like it's an interesting no, I don't want to say no pun intended, but no reference intended, but it's an interesting dance that the movie does. But yeah, it's a really good movie. I really feel like I will come back to my top 10 of 2020 and reevaluate it at some point and be like, oh fuck, like half of these movies should have been different movies. But yeah.
I don't think you're alone on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. So you saw The Life Ahead? I didn't see it. What is it?
it's on Netflix.
Okay.
I guess I could say it stars Sophia Loren.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, I don't know. Nothing great, nothing bad to say about it, I guess. It was good. I was looking back on my 2020 movies watched last year, and I realized I didn't really watch a whole lot of foreign movies.
Oh, interesting.
And I try to watch, I guess, as many as I can, but I don't know. It's not that I didn't have access to them. I just didn't get around to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm really excited to see Minari.
It's a very good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could have gotten to that one before the end of the year, but I'll watch it for sure before the Golden Globes, at least.
Nice. Yeah, I love it. So yeah. Let's see. So the acting categories, and we can kind of rapid fire some of these because I want to get to our interview.
Yeah.
So best, let's see. Well, wait. First, let's delay that a little bit further. Best animated film. The nominees: The Croods: A New Age, Onward, Over the Moon, Soul, and Wolfwalkers. How do you feel about this crop of animated movies, and why are you such a hardcore fan for The Croods too?
Croods all the way. It's 2021 is the new age. I'm okay with them. I mean, obviously there weren't a ton of options. I've seen all of these except for The Croods. I don't know. What do you think?
So I really need to rewatch Soul.
Yeah.
That's my pick. I loved Soul. I really, it's another testament to Pixar's ability to create simple entryways into very complex concepts and constructs, much like Inside Out was. And yeah, Wolfwalkers got a lot of love, and I liked it fine. But yeah, I don't know. And Over the Moon did not resonate. Or didn't leave any impression.
I didn't like Over the Moon very much at all. There is one that I would have liked to see in its place, and that is called The Willoughbys. It's also on Netflix. I mean, it's not fantastic or anything, but I liked it a lot better than Over the Moon. Mm-hmm. But Netflix seems to be putting that seems to be their horse in this race.
Yeah.
I personally liked Wolfwalkers better than Soul.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So,
I will say the animation style was really cool.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I did like Soul, but I liked Wolfwalkers better.
Nice. Okay. So acting. Best performance by an actor in a motion picture drama. Probably should have done actress first, but anyway. Best actor drama. Riz Ahmed, Sound of Metal. Chadwick Boseman, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Anthony Hopkins, The Father. Gary Oldman, Mank. And Tahar Rahim, The Mauritanian. How do you feel about this grouping of nominees?
I, like a lot of people, I'm sure, had never heard of The Mauritanian, much less Tahar Rahim. No offense to him, but I just had never heard of the film. That's another one. I think that still hasn't come out yet. So, yeah, would have loved to have seen Delroy Lindo here.
Yeah. Although, would he be best actor or best supporting?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I could see him being a lead. I could see the argument for that one.
Yeah.
Mads Mikkelsen would have been cool.
Yes.
Or from what I have heard, Stephen Yeun.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
He was nominated for a SAG award, I believe.
Nice.
So,
hopefully that bodes well for the Oscars.
Right. Yeah. Delroy Lindo also, by the way, not nominated at the SAGs.
Jeez.
Da Five Bloods was nominated for Best Cast, but not him individually. Chadwick Boseman was nominated as supporting, but and a lead for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. But yeah, I honestly guess Riz Ahmed won one of the awards just the other day. I don't remember which one. Maybe the Gotham Awards or something. But he won. He's already won one of the precursors. So,
how'd you feel about his performance in
incredible
Sound of Metal?
Yeah. He is one of the best parts about it. Yeah. I'm sure there will be a lot of push behind Chadwick Boseman, and I would not fault anyone for
same here.
That. Yeah. So.
I feel like there is it's an interesting moment because I kind of liken it a little bit to Heath Ledger and the Joker, in The Dark Knight, obviously not in the Joker, but there is something to the fact that like Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker is insanely good. Like it is incredible.
Yeah.
It's like on a completely different level. And I feel like with Chadwick Boseman, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is his final performance, and like it blew me away. It absolutely blew me away. Yeah. So like I feel like some detractors might be like, well, they'd only give him the award because it's a posthumous award and because he died. It's like, no, I mean, that's a fucking like award caliber performance.
Yeah.
Any day of the week.
Alive or dead.
Yes. So anyway, that's my pick.
Yeah, I hope either him or Riz Ahmed wins.
Mm-hmm.
I would be happy with either one of them.
Yep. Best actress in a motion picture drama?
Sure.
Viola Davis, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Andre Day in The United States versus Billie Holiday. Okay. Vanessa Kirby, Pieces of a Woman. Frances McDormand, Nomadland. Carey Mulligan, Promising Young Woman. Very stacked category. Like, geez.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Pieces of a Woman. I haven't heard of The United States versus Billie Holiday.
That's another one that still hasn't come out yet.
Okay.
It's coming out on Hulu later this month.
Gotcha.
I think like the 26th or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, Viola Davis, Frances McDormand, Carey Mulligan.
Yeah.
3 insanely good performances.
Yeah.
It would be very hard for me to pick. Well, not really. Frances McDormand.
Yeah, I think she's, I don't want to say a lock, but close to it.
Yeah.
I think she's got a lot of love in the industry, so I can see her winning this. Nice. I would be happy with Carey Mulligan winning too.
Yeah, me too.
But I think it's still going to be Frances McDormand.
Nice. Best performance by an actress in a musical or comedy. Maria Bakalova for Borat, subsequent movie film. Kate Hudson for music. Michelle Pfeiffer for French Exit. Rosamund Pike for I Care a Lot. And Anya Taylor-Joy for Emma. How do you feel about this crop of nominees, and which ones have you seen? I haven't seen I Care a Lot yet, or French Exit, or music, as we said, or Emma. So I'm gonna bow out. How do you feel about these nominees? I
feel the same way. I have only seen Borat, so.
Oh wow.
I really hope that Maria Bakalova wins it.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of based on the other nominations for Borat, I kind of think she might. I mean,
nice.
Kate Hudson is she's just a celebrity to be there, right? That's the only reason why she was nominated.
I think so.
Granted, we haven't seen the movie, but
right, and it hasn't really been on my radar that much. So I think that's a fair assumption.
Would have been great to get Kristen Milioti for Palm Springs.
Oh, God, that would have been great.
I mean, Andy Samberg. We'll get to that one. But
right.
Andy Samberg nominated. What were some other musicals or comedies that had actresses? I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Backtracking. Kind of bummed, but not totally surprised. The Assistant and Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always.
Damn it.
Both of those got totally blanked.
Yes.
Would have been great to see screenplay for either one of them, or Best Actress.
Yes.
Or director even, but, you know.
Yeah, that's a bummer. God, because those were both amazing. Man. Okay.
I think I would have loved to have seen either one of those actresses take the place of Andra Day. Granted, I haven't seen that. Vanessa Kirby. I would have liked to see either one of them take their place.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I agree. Best performance by an actor in a motion picture, musical, or comedy. We've got Sacha Baron Cohen for Borat subsequent movie film, James Corden for The Prom, Lin-Manuel Miranda for Hamilton, not a movie, Dev Patel for The Personal History of David Copperfield, and Andy Samberg for Palm Springs. Dev Patel's great, and The Personal History of David Copperfield was okay. I mean, it was fine, but I mean, wasn't really on my radar, or didn't really stick with me. My unabashed pick for this is Andy Samberg, because I just adore him and Palm Springs, and Hamilton isn't a movie. How do you feel about this crop of nominees?
I agree. Yeah, The Prom sucked.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Don't watch The Prom. It's a waste of time. James Corden is I think he might even be doing an American accent in that.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's
Okay.
weird. Honestly, I don't even remember a whole lot about his performance, so I can't really say whether it was good or bad, but I don't know. I mean, like we said, what else would you nominate? I guess there weren't a whole lot of mainstream comedies. Maybe the American Pickle, the Seth Rogen movie. That would have been fun.
I guess.
As much as I didn't like the movie, Pete Davidson and King of Staten Island would have been fun.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, the Lin-Manuel Miranda thing just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's not to say that it's not like a performance, because like that. Obviously, Hamilton is just brilliant in everything.
Yes.
But it's a medium thing. It's like it's a stage production. I can't reconcile that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Definitely. And I think you could make an argument that Let Them All Talk is a comedy, the HBO Steven Soderbergh movie.
Mm-hmm.
So Lucas Hedges is in that, and he's really great.
Okay.
That would have been a good nomination for him. But I don't know how the whole HBO thing works with the eligibility and all that. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. Should we kind of round out with the best performance by an actress and also actor in a supporting role in any motion picture? So
yes.
Best supporting actress: Glenn Close, Hillbilly Elegy; Olivia Colman, The Father; Jodie Foster, The Mauritanian; Amanda Seyfried for Mank; and Helena Zengel for News of the World. So this group I'm gonna also kind of bow out of because I've only seen News of the World. But I will say that Helena Zengel is really good in this movie.
Okay.
The movie itself,
I didn't know you had seen that.
I did. Didn't really care for it that much. Like it's fine. I will say that one of the supporting actors is this guy Michael Covino, who made an appearance on the Obsessive Viewer in, I think, 2016 at Heartland Film Festival. So yeah. Anyway, that's my pick. How do you feel about this group?
Yeah, I mean, Amanda. I think it'll go to Amanda Seyfried. Okay. I don't know. I mean, Olivia Colman's an Oscar winner, so you can't discourage that a whole lot. Hillbilly Elegy is Hillbilly Elegy.
I have heard nothing but terrible things about that movie.
And both her and Amy Adams were nominated in the SAGs. So,
jeez.
If you're a SAG completionist, watch that.
I feel bad making this kind of jokey threat because I haven't seen the movie. But what if Hillbilly Elegy does a Parasite sweep at the Oscars?
Oh boy. I don't know.
We'd have to throw a book at them that's green. Green book. Anyway. That was dumb.
Would have been great to see Toni Collette from I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Damn it.
That's the big one that I was thinking of.
I keep, like, every time you mention something, I'm like, it's, yep.
I'm trying.
The Golden Globes were a mistake.
I'm trying to think of other supporting actress performances that I watched anyway. And I don't know. I don't know what else there would have been.
The Grandmother of Minari would have been good.
Right. There was someone that was not Stephen Yeun nominated at the SAGs.
Okay.
So that might have been it. I don't remember the name.
Shall we move on to Best Actor in a Supporting Role?
Yes.
Okay. This might be the last one, I think. So Sacha Baron Cohen for The Trial of the Chicago 7. Daniel Kaluuya for Judas and the Black Messiah. Jared Leto for The Little Things, Bill Murray for On the Rocks, and Leslie Odom Jr. for One Night in Miami. Sacha Baron Cohen for Trial of the Chicago 7 is a stronger performance than his performance in Borat, I think. I would be happy with that. I have not seen The Little Things or Judas and the Black Messiah. Is Judas and the Black Messiah, has that been released yet, or is that upcoming?
I don't think it has been widely released. Okay. It is coming to HBO Max on February 12th.
Okay.
And I will definitely be watching that day, if not that weekend. Okay. Yeah.
And I haven't seen Leslie Odom Jr. in One Night in Miami. So, yeah, how do you feel about this group?
I can understand Sacha Baron Cohen getting nominated for Trial of the Chicago 7. Out of all of the gigantic cast for that movie, I can understand why he stood out. Personally, I think it should have been Mark Rylance. I liked his performance a little bit better.
Or Eddie Redmayne, even.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've really been able to articulate this that much, but Eddie Redmayne does something with his voice in the Trial of the Chicago 7 that is, obviously he's doing like an American accent. He's British, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's doing an American accent and he does something with his voice. I can't articulate what it is, but it is like the pitch perfect tone and cadence and like just voice of like the college age political activist person of that era. Like it is insane to me just how on point that is. And I don't know how else to quantify it.
Okay. Yeah, I liked him in that too. I mean, if it was up to me, this whole category would be the cast of One Night in Miami. But
nice.
I am a little surprised now that I have seen it that Leslie Odom Jr. was nominated. I guess he is the biggest celebrity of that group.
Yeah.
But I had heard a lot of buzz for his name's Kingsley Ben-Adir, who plays Malcolm X in the movie. And his role is definitely, I mean, they're all fairly equal, but his role is, I feel like it stands out a little bit more, and he has a little bit more dramatically to do. I was kind of surprised that Leslie Odom Jr. was the one that got picked out of those four.
Interesting. And who are the other two? I'm blanking.
Aldous Hodge.
Right.
And Eli Gorey, who plays Cassius Clay.
Okay.
And he's fantastic as well. I really liked him.
Nice.
But yeah, Kingsley Ben-Adir, I think probably would have been my pick of those.
Nice.
As for who's going to win, I don't know. Probably Sacha Baron Cohen, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I could see that. And I would be fine with it. Obviously that's kind of my pick, I guess.
Right.
I think that will do it for the Golden Globe nominees. Do you have anything to say about the SAG Awards?
Not really. I mean, it is good that they, like I said, they nominated Da 5 Bloods. I don't have the nominations list in front of me, but I was okay with them.
Okay. To kind of break down the Golden Globes real quick before we end it here, the most nominations for a distributor was Netflix with 22. Underneath that was Amazon Studios with 7. Nominations by television distributor. By the way, that was for movies. This is for television, was Netflix with 20 and HBO with 7. The most nominations by movie was Mank with 6 nominations, followed by The Trial of Chicago 7 with 5. And nominations for television series. The Crown got the most with 6, and Schitt's Creek got 5. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that will do it for this segment of the episode. We're going to go ahead and throw it over to our interview with Dean Kapsalis, the writer and director of The Swerve, which is available to stream right now on Amazon Prime Video. And if you're listening to this in the future, there is going to be a physical release down the road, so check that out. And yeah, so I guess we're going to go ahead and throw it over to that interview. Ben, do you have any parting thoughts before we get to our interview?
I don't think so. Check out my top 10 list for 2020 where you can read my summary of it.
Yes, and go to obsessiveviewer.com/Ben-Sears for a full archive of Ben's work on the website as well. And go to obsessiveviewer.com/MattHurt2021 for all of my 2021 stuff that I'm getting a slow start on. But yeah, so, all right, well, here's our interview with Dean Kapsalis, the writer and director of The Swerve. There we go.
Fear so bitter, death is hardly more severe. That's pretty intense.
Yeah, Holly's a real gourmet chef, too. We knew who loved pie the most.
Should I get us kind of kicked off and bring us into the
sure.
episode? All right, great. And real quick, how do you pronounce your last name?
Kapsalis?
Kapsalis. All right.
That was going to be my first question, too. And that was not going to be my guess.
I always get really...
What was your guess? Kapsalis? It's just
Kapsalis?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's like, it's just, you put the emphasis. I always know it's just Kapsalis. So.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So, all right. I'll bring us in then. Hello. So this is Matt, and I'm here with Ben, and we have here today with us the writer and director of The Swerve, Dean Kapsalis. Did I know that I already?
No,
just
you did not. You did not mangle it. It was perfect pronunciation.
All right, great. So we've watched your film. It's available on Amazon Prime. Again, it's called The Swerve. I'm just going to read just a plot summary, courtesy of IMDb. A woman with a seemingly ideal life battles insomnia, which is a pretty succinct and interesting description for it. Welcome to the Obsessive Viewer podcast, and thank you so much for your time and for meeting with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, how are you doing?
My pleasure. I'm well, thank you. Very well. I think I wrote that synopsis. I mean, they needed a couple of different versions of it, so it was like, here's one sentence, and you never know what they're going to use, but there's different versions of it. So I think that was kind of like the one we were cracking up at, like when we were writing it. But yeah, I'm well. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great. Yeah. So, let's just dive right in talking about the film. I was looking, is this your debut?
Feature. Yeah. First feature
debut. Wow.
Very
Congratulations. Cool. Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, and like whenever we talk to filmmakers about that, like we cover some film festivals here, I'm always fascinated to know like the process. And this movie is it seems super ambitious in terms of just the narrative kind of structure. So what was the process like of getting it from script to screen for you?
Long. Well, I mean, movies are a long process, and especially on first features, and it's sort of, you have to go through certain hoops to try to figure out how to do it and who wants to do it with you. And so, overall, it was, once we decided that how we were going to do it, it wasn't that long. But, I went through certain script labs and, we talked to certain people and, there was like other people involved in the beginning of it, and they were like, oh, you're going to need X amount of money to do it. And it was like millions of dollars or something. We're like, no. I mean, because, we knew, just to make it all like succinct and short, we knew overall, I was like, this is my first feature. Getting people convinced to be in your feature, and how are you going to do it? It's like, yeah, I had some shorts to show them that I'm not, of what I can do, but they were kind of unlike, they gave you an indication, but they were unlike the feature. The feature is like quite a dark ride. And, but once we did decide that, then things started to fall into place, and we knew what we could do it for, et cetera, where we were going to shoot it, and then, and then various people started coming on board.
Nice.
Do you think that you'll continue to make? I don't know if I would really qualify this as a horror movie. Does that make sense? I mean, it's the argument's been going on. Mm-hmm. It's like there's one critic who I'm kind of become friendly with, and he finds the whole conversation of not just my film, but there are other films of what qualifies as horror. Mm-hmm. He finds it rather very boring, and the intention was there. It's like, whatever you want to call it, if it's a psychological drama, a psychological thriller, horror film, a character study, a straight out drama, it's sort of like, to me, horror is progressive, mm-hmm. as are movies. And I think we've come to a point in films that, where they blend back and forth. And so, it's not a traditional horror film, no, but I knew that going into it. To me, it's a true horror film because of what the themes are, what the focus is, of how the film progresses. It's a true horror film. I mean, people, I get very freaked out by it, or upset by it. They use words like brutal and this and that, and it's sort of like, well, to me, that's horror. That's really that's a horror film. Absolutely. But it doesn't follow a traditional avenue of what you think horror is. It's not, it doesn't have outright supernatural elements. If you think of horror like that, then no, it's not a horror film. No one's getting stabbed to death in the film. Mm-hmm. If you think of horror like that. But there are plenty of non-horror films where people are stabbed to death too, and you don't consider them horror films.
Absolutely.
I thought of it initially as kind of a more grounded Hereditary almost.
I was just going to say.
I mean, without, the floating people on the ceiling and the satanic cults or whatever.
Really? Really, I've heard comparisons to that. I didn't see Hereditary until I was, I think, probably editing at that point. Yeah, I didn't see it. There was a bunch of films I hadn't seen or stayed away from or just didn't have a chance to. But I've heard comparisons to it. I think it's a great movie, Hereditary. So thank you.
It kind of feels like there's, at least in terms of genre movies and horror movies, as of recently at least, that there's kind of a rise in this kind of cerebral and emotional kind of horror. Like, that's something that resonates with me a lot, like in your film and in movies like Hereditary and Midsommar and other recent ones, that it's just more, it's less about like outright scares and outright like shock factors. It's more character based and character just studies. So
and mood
and like escalating tension and everything. So on that note, can you speak to some of like your influences, or did you was there a conscious effort to create that tone in it? Was that like the priority, or was it more character, or how did you approach the film?
All of the above. I mean, the approach, it was definitely the aim. I mean, it was all it started from a character. It was all character based. The film never deviated from the screenplay. I mean, the shooting of it, we never deviated from it. In a small budget like we had, you just, you really can't. And I was adamant anyway. If somebody went offline, I actually corrected them. It was like, it wasn't because of like a ego. It was like, no, we have to say, it was because the film has to sort of fall like a set of dominoes in a certain way. So all the lines were intentional. And so it had to go a certain way. So if something was pulled out, it would screw things up. Mm-hmm. The influences were, it was definitely intentional. It was all based around Holly. It was all based around the character. It started off from a thumbnail sketch I did of her, and built the film around it entirely. I knew the aim of what I was going for. It wasn't like I just thought of the characters, I'm just going to make a film about this. I had something in mind, and the character sort of came out, and I started to, play around with who she was and what was going on. And, and I think those were the very early elements were Holly, with a gun in a supermarket. And, but in my mind, though, I'd already started thinking of this idea that I'd had. And I'm just I thought of it like a haunted house of the mind kind of thing,
nice.
Where mental illness really is, and I wanted to give that essence, like that mood of what it's, a little bit, fever dreamish, and I didn't want to do it in a way that I'd seen done before, how, mental illness is portrayed, through sort of like audio design, like audio design where or Dutch angles or things like that
right.
I don't think are really true, to mental illness. So I wanted to stay very grounded like that, but also give you the sense of a dreamlike reality, if that makes sense, like a grounded dreamlike reality.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Something that struck me about it was just exactly that dreamlike kind of quality to it, because it's so, the narrative structure is so just bouncing from different like times, and you're not really ever sure what's actually going on or when it's going on in terms of like Holly's kind of chronological timeline. And that's something that I thought was really well realized in terms of displaying just that mental state that she's in and that fragile mental state. I think that was a really interesting choice, and at a kind of visual narrative level. So I don't really have a question for that. Just I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it's easy to lose people with a structure like that, but I followed it very easily.
Yeah.
Like, you thought it was confusing, or that there was a like. I didn't give it away in terms of exposition, or I wasn't.
I felt like it was more just an extension of her grappling with whatever her reality is, or whatever her disorder that she was experiencing was.
Right.
Was that, like, as she kind of wakes up and it's like completely different from where she was in the scene previous to that, like, we're just as disoriented as she is. And I thought that was really powerful in terms of just bringing us into her fragile mind state.
You mean in the beginning, the opening?
Yeah.
Oh, she is already awake. Remember, or think back on it. That's actually a good point, but she's already awake. So that's very important.
Okay.
She's not asleep.
Gotcha.
When we see her in bed. That's I'm giving something away there, but if you think about it, it's intentional. It really is.
So we would be remiss if we didn't talk at least a little bit about the ending, and without spoiling anything. Did you was the ending that you see on film the original ending that you had written, or did it go through any kind of rewrites, or did you have an alternate ending, or were there any like studio notes?
There was no studio involved, so no. And you mean in terms of like the final shot, or just like the final minutes of the film?
Just
it ends?
The last few minutes, yeah.
No, it was scripted.
When the shoot really drops. Like that.
There was no alternate ending.
Okay.
No.
Did you have another one in mind before you had written it down?
Well, I went through many drafts. I think the early drafts of it, actually, come to think of it, there was a writer, this is early on, this is a couple of years before. I had the scenario worked out in a way where where I knew what was happening, well after the events you saw. Mm-hmm. And it didn't end like that, because I was just trying different things. It was more melodramatic. I think I was just playing around with things. But it was an early draft. And so this writer I was working with, a woman writer, a very excellent woman writer, from Australia, and I'm not going to attempt her accent, at least not without a few beers. She knew the direction I wanted to go in. And part of the lab, which was like a long, lab, it was like months long. And she said, I know where you want to go. and you should aim for that. And, without giving anything away. And, I did, I ended up doing that and just sticking with it. And once I did it, then the producer was like, tears sprang to his eyes, and he was like, this is perfect. This is it.
Yeah.
Everybody knew it. Because if it was going to end any other way, because this conversation has come up before in various other interviews and such, and it was like, or actually at film festivals, and they were like, well, if we did do it that way, if we got the husband more involved, well, then what's the point? I mean, the real tragedy, the real horror is to end it as this, because, a big influence on the film, were tragedies in literature, Greek tragedies, Shakespearean tragedies. I mean, I point to it really directly in the movie. It's like I give you a big wink and tell you this is where the movie's headed. Mm-hmm. And if you miss it, well, that's your fault. And that's cool if you miss it. But if you don't, this is where you're going. So don't look at it like it's, like you're going to be that shocked, even though people are really shocked by it. But I just enjoy, and I put a lot of those things in the film, that people pick up on. Like, did you mean to do this? Did you mean to do that? And I just put little things around the movie. Like, if you know it, it's great, that I point to a certain book or movie. But if you don't, then that's cool too. But, it was like, I'm a big fan of those. And I wanted part of the process of making, I just wanted to be true to it. You know what I mean? I wanted to be true to stories like that. And I also wanted to hit people hard with it. I mean, I knew it would,
Yeah.
Maybe not quite as hard as I did, because in some places I think I really hit them pretty hard, but, hey, it's my first movie.
Sure. Yeah. And it's a very confident first movie. I mean, I know, when you never know if you'll even get a chance to make, another one. So might as well do everything you're thinking of doing. So is that a question? Or you're just another appreciation.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, thank you.
But actually, kind of on that note, are you? Do you think you'll continue to make movies kind of in this similar pseudo horror kind of genre, or do you want to try something different?
Well, yeah. I mean, I do, but I do like things that are that are intense and grab hold. I just really, it's just that's what my thing is.
Sure.
I mean, I'm good at it. I enjoy it. It's what I like doing. I think it's going to be different. I mean, I'm working on something that's different, but yet you'll know it's from me, but it's quite different. Awesome. And if I end up also want to work on, I'll probably end up working on something that I didn't originate, that I'll be working on somebody else's either script or a book, that I can adapt. That'll, probably, but I'm just attracted to those things anyway, to something that, I think there should be like a purpose behind what's being, and a reason as to why I should tell something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just from that sort of school, that there has to be, I mean, everybody's seen it all before, but I just think, I'm just going to try to do it just a little bit differently, a little bit better, maybe, hopefully, that's what I aim to do. So, but I like staying in that, either genre blend or, I would love to do a straight out genre, like a supernatural, or ghost story or something. Yeah. But again, it has to be, just a little bit different, something special about it, because I've already been reading things and they're like, well, why? Like, what's the reason?
Sure.
Yeah. So how did I'm afraid that I'm going to butcher her name, but Azura Sky?
No, that's good. Azura, it's Azura like the
Azura.
Like the stone. There's like a Azura.
I read
or the color
after a stone. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she's named. She's named, like, her parents were gemologists, and they named her after.
Okay.
Interesting. So how did she come aboard the project, and Like, how do you feel about just striking gold with her? Because her performance,
she's fantastic.
Yeah.
She came on board from it was a long casting process. And casting director, said, would you be interested in her? And I didn't know her. And the producer is a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, so she played this apparently really memorable. I saw it. The character's name is Cassie, and Cassie Newton, and there's like a cult around this character. And so I'd seen her before, but I wasn't really that aware of her acting style or such. But so she submitted an audition, and she was really good. And the producer and I watched it independently to not influence one another. And then we came together and said, she's great. And then we spoke, and she had like the right sort of voice and attitude, and she's completely different, of course, in the character. She's nothing like the character at all.
Right.
But I liked the way when we talked, I liked how she sounded, and we spoke about things, and I didn't tell her to watch anything. I don't think I didn't want to influence her like that at all. And so you'll listen, you'll talk to me. It took her a little time to gain my trust when we were working together, because she was like, because it's a challenging role, but she started to trust my methods and get into the swing of it. But in order to get her, she wanted, like, in order to get her into that state of mind and how I was shooting it, I think she was a little bit mystified at first. And she was like, why are you doing things that way? And I would slow her down a lot, and I said, you can't, like, the camera, we're shooting in this ratio, your head's this big. So all you have to do is move a little bit this way and stare here. So everything was sometimes very, very precise and specific. And then she got the rhythm of it. And, it was fun. The atmosphere was light. People are like, oh, it must have been so horrible and intense. And we did interviews together. She's like, no, it was really light and fun, generally pretty fun, even though we were moving quickly, and it was like, kind of intense, and because we were moving fast, but it was very light.
She, I love the way, she just does so much without even doing a whole lot. There's the early scene at her parents' house when they're sitting down and talking. And, the sister is like egging her on and telling the story about the pie, and almost the whole time the camera is trained on her, and she's just you can just see her just kind of like seething with this rage without even really making any movements or doing a whole lot physically, but you can see that on her face. Yeah, we really when I was editing, I let that go in the cut very far. I wanted to just sit on her. And in fact, in one of the cuts, I just almost let it sit on the entirety, just on her. And then we kind of switched it around and balanced it in a way. We did many different versions of it. But yeah, I really enjoyed shooting that sequence tremendously. She was a lot of fun, and we told them, I told her exactly what I said. The camera's going to be going here. We had Ashley, who plays her sister Claudia, giving the lines off screen, her scenes, and then I said we went through like what she would be feeling, Azura as Holly, and then she was just great. She just, she really embodied that. And she's got a background as a dancer too. So when I found that out, we kind of incorporated like her movements, the way she would move across the screen. And,
interesting.
Like a ghost almost. It's like this.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. I see that now that you mention that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What was the toughest thing to shoot? Cause like you have, there's at least one scene with a rodent. I can't imagine, animal stuff being done.
Easy.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna say that shit was easy. It was. That stuff was easy.
Okay.
That stuff was comparatively easy. Okay. What do you think was the hardest? You thought the hardest was the stuff with the rat?
No, I'm gonna say the hardest was probably the car scene.
Yeah.
Which car scene?
The logistics of it. The titular swerve.
Yeah. Yeah. Where they're coming up beside her.
No.
Really?
No, it wasn't. No.
Okay.
That stuff was not that stuff was a lot of fun. I mean, it was like, it really wasn't that, no, because we already had it worked out. What the hardest stuff was, believe it or not, it was, and he's a great kid, it was with the son.
Okay.
The older son, because it was his first film, and it was one of the first scenes that we shot, and he was really, really nervous. And he's great, but it took a lot of effort before we shot and then during to get him warmed up. So for me, that was the most difficult thing to shoot.
Okay.
Everything else, people, there were questions about like, well, the stuff that are the most intense scenes, the most emotional scenes for me are like, because the actors are so good, and they were so gung ho to do them. You know what I'm talking about, the really intense emotional moments. They really enjoyed those. And for me, it's like really easy to direct scenes like that just because they're such pros and I'm very specific in how I wanted the scene played. So, so they were great. But the stuff that was probably the hardest. And then shooting stuff outdoors is often difficult too, because of sound. But, because, you're always under a time crunch and then suddenly a military helicopter would decide to just fly overhead. So that stuff was always like beads of sweat, would come down my head. And then shooting places like in the supermarket because we have a finite amount of time in the location. And then before they say, okay, we've got to let the public in, and then suddenly, the doors open and you've got to shoot all that stuff, et cetera.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things to take, like when you're shooting in big places like that, you have to think of things ahead of time, like trains running, air conditioning units, things like that.
The whole movie kind of filled me with dread because I also have two boys, and they are similarly spaced in age as the two kids. They're not teenagers yet, but it made me dread the day when they become that age, and made me cringe a little bit. I mean, I don't like to think that I wasn't that bad with my parents, but I will fully admit I should have been nicer to my parents. I praise you for your accuracy with teenagers and how they were written.
Thanks. Having been one myself, I guess it was pretty easy for me to think in those regards. But then again, you also have to consider that it's not reality, of course.
Yes.
But you should not try those things at home. But it was really terrifying to me that things like that do happen. And oddly enough, when I was writing the early drafts of the script, or even, later drafts, I kept hearing, reading, and seeing news items on similar events. Moms or dads, participating in like horrible, doing terrible things to their families. And it was like really shocking. So I became interested in that, in like what I've always been interested, I suppose, in things like that, which is kind of macabre, but like what pushes people to that, to do things like that. Because to me, it's so unfathomable to see it in a movie, to read it in a book is one thing, but reality is a whole, it's a whole different ballgame. And that's what I tell people: is it's not real, folks. What you're seeing, however dread-inducing a movie can be, or a book, because that's part of the success of it. So I really appreciate that you felt that, but it's not real, but when you read these stories happening, true crime, that stuff is like terrifying. Somebody recommended to me the other day a show on Netflix called The Night Stalker, and I haven't watched it. And they're like, "Oh, you'll love it." And I'm like, I read about it and I was like, "Oh, that sounds pretty terrifying."
Yeah.
So, people have done and still do things like this, and I think it's like what makes them tick what pushes somebody to that event. And like, there's such, no one would have expected it. They're such wonderful people. They're so quiet, et cetera, et cetera. Meanwhile, they end up driving their car off a ravine with their kids inside or something, and,
right.
Or something. It's like, what happened? To me, that's very interesting in terms of a narrative.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's something I really respect about the film, is because it is entirely through Holly's perspective, and you're taking us through her daily experience and everything leading up to a very horrific ending just for a lot of people involved in everything. And it's a tightrope to walk to have us follow this character and bring us inside this very troubled mindset. It's just something I really appreciate about the film.
Yeah, and you get such a good look into her mindset, especially early on. There's not even a whole lot of dialogue. It's just all this routine for her, driving the kids to school, being ignored by the kids and the husband, and you really you get on her side very easily.
Oh, yeah. Really? Okay. Well, I'd hope so. I guess I never really thought of it like that. I'm glad I didn't, because there were more, and I think I just cut it down. We had more situations like that, and we just thought, like, well, what do we keep? What do we take out? Mm-hmm. It was sort of like that I was interested in that kind of, I guess I had enough trust in the material and then in the actors, and knew that it would build up enough and that it would hopefully keep people's attention and be on her side. And that was one of the things that, Azura definitely brings to it, is sort of that fragility and then it ends up sort of like you could just feel that sort of anger bubbling just underneath her, and that it definitely sort of comes out gradually. And so that was my job too, to sort of, sort of keep it on that balance and pace, and know when it should come out, when it should, because if it comes out too soon, then you're letting the cat out of the bag too fast, and then, so it's definitely a process. It was definitely nerve-wracking for me, when you're making a movie, because you're shooting it out of sequence, and so you have to keep that. Although with this film, we did shoot much of it in sequence as well. Oh, nice. To keep for the actors, to keep that that sort of build up, so they knew, what was going on. It was better for her performance.
Yeah, great,
nice. Great. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time or anything.
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah. Anything else?
Last question.
Yeah.
Last question.
No, ask me whatever you want.
What's your favorite flavor of pie?
I love apple pie. I also love cherry pie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It just depends on the mood. Mm-hmm. But apple pie is pretty great. I would say those two: apple pie, and then sometimes cherry pie will just,
Next time you come to Indiana, try the sugar cream pie. It's apparently what we're known for. I don't know.
Just sugar and cream.
I guess so. Honestly, I don't think I've ever
custard,
had it.
like a custard or something.
I guess
maybe.
I don't know. I honestly don't think I've ever had it, but it's apparently like our state pie, our official state pie.
You're recommending something that they've never. I mean, you've never had. Okay,
it's
all right.
The official state pie, though. So I guess the will of the people has spoken.
Okay,
My
that sounds good.
It's probably blueberry, but
blueberry. Okay, blueberry's great. I don't think there's any particular one. You didn't even ask me, which is okay. But it just sort of thought of it like, it wasn't because apple was my favorite. Why it's in the movie, but
yeah.
I
had a feeling it might have been.
it just fit narratively. The producer loves apple pie too, and those are hand-baked apple pies in the movie.
They look delicious.
They looked amazing. Yeah.
Minus the secret ingredient.
Right.
Yeah. The art director made those with, rolled out the crust. And made
they
them.
are usually the prettiest, I guess.
Yeah, they were really good too. The cast, they loved them.
Nice.
We would all try it. The actor, Jura loved them. She was really very very into it. Come to think of it, it was great. It was great shooting that stuff.
I have heard a lot of actors say that the hardest thing to do is eating on camera. So I'm sure she eats a pretty healthy amount of pie there. So
it wasn't as much as you think. I mean, because we didn't. I'm not. I didn't have to do that many takes. You're talking about like the scene where she's eating. It's it's one take, right? So when she's eating the pie, it's just like until I dissolve, like much later.
Right,
but it's for the first I think it's almost 2 minutes. It's like the camera is just one shot moving on a we're just slowly moving on a dolly going forward on her. So she's eating just one piece of pie, and I don't think I only did maybe 2 or 3 takes at the most of that. But, because she just got it. She knew exactly what, we talked about it ahead of time. We just checked it. And, she was just like, I mean, she's been acting since she was a kid. So, she knew what I would do. She knew what I was doing. She trusted it, and then, just went with it.
Great.
So it wasn't that much pie. Sorry to give you such a long story there.
Well, left over more for the cast and crew to pig out on, I'm sure.
Yeah, they ate it all. We had good food. We had a lot. It was Virginia, so they had we had they had tons of stuff, rice pudding, and the catering was good. We made sure everybody was fed well. It wasn't pizza.
Okay.
It was just like, sometimes wings, whatever. We were good. We were very good with all the cast and crew. It was hot. Awesome. It was in the summer.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? Do you have anything coming up in the pipeline or anything?
I'm working on something right now, that is a coming of age, set in a high school kind of mystery ghost story.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That sounds awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm excited for what you have coming up, and everyone else involved, Azura and everyone. It's yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. Was that I didn't quite hear you.
I said I'm excited for what you have coming up, and Azura and everyone involved.
Thanks. Yeah, I think Azura's waiting to get. She's in LA, but everybody's waiting for the pandemic to kind of be over, and or like, especially a lot of actors really are they're waiting for that to sort of come to a close so that we could get on with the world.
Yeah.
So
hopefully it happens soon.
Yeah. Best of luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Do you have any social media or anywhere that people can find you online or?
Yep, I'm on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. I think I'm not the biggest participant in those, but you can definitely find me, and if you're interested, and people make remarks on the movie or contact me that way, it's cool. I'm
Great.
on there. I think at Dean Kapsalis on Twitter. Yeah, but you can find me on Facebook. People do. They send me notes. I've gotten some really, really sweet notes from people about the movie and questions about, how did I do this, or, screenwriting tips, or et cetera. Yeah. And I think there should be a physical release of the film sometime this year, maybe in the summer.
Oh,
excellent.
Awesome.
Okay.
For those that are interested, and we're still working out what, they want some special features. So everyone's like, "Will you do a commentary track?" And I'm like, probably. I'm thinking about it. I think so. It's like, well, what do you talk about? What do you give away? What do people want to know? Like references or like how to do. So it's like trying to find a balance. Like, what's it going to be like? I hate those, commentary tracks where there's like all this dead air space.
Oh yeah.
Or they just talk about what's going on screen.
Yeah.
Like, well,
Yep.
here we are, and we're in the supermarket, and then, and it's like, oh, yawn. So I don't want to do anything like that. And I if I do something, I want to make it kind of interesting for people. So I have to actually maybe go over some movies that I like with decent commentary tracks and see how it's done, and then kind of script it out or do an outline.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to, and we're looking forward to what you do next. Once again, the movie's called The Swerve. It is available on Amazon Prime Video now. And Dean, thank you so much for your time and for chatting with us. And congratulations on the film. And
Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully everything works out great after the pandemic closes and everyone can get back to normal.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt and Ben. I appreciate it.
you.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Take it easy.
Yep.
All right.
I was the one. Those 2 kids in the paper. I ran them off.
Okay, and thank you once again to Dean Kapsalis for his time and for chatting with us about his movie and his process and everything. Ben, how did you feel about the interview?
It was really great. It was really nice to get an inside look at his process and his way of constructing the film. It makes me appreciate it even more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you to Dean for his time and sitting down with us.
Absolutely. All right. Well, coming up on the podcast, we have the next Ebert's Great Movies list will be later this month. And in between that, I don't know. I'm going to try to get Kirsten back on the show at some point. And I need to get Fekis back. Fekis, if you're listening, come back, please. I do want to get him on to talk about the Snyder Cut when it's released.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, but then also that means I'll have to watch the Snyder Cut. So kind of a double-edged sword. But anyway, all right. Well, yeah. So I don't know what really is on the docket, but I do want to just promote the Patreon feed. If you go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer, if you pledge $1 or $2, you get access to an RSS feed with just content recorded specifically for Patreon. Mike and I have a full-length hour-and-a-half conversation about music that's on there now that I'm actually really excited about and was weirdly nervous about because I don't really talk about music that much. But it's our top 5 favorite songs. So check that out. Pledge $1 or $2 and get access to that. Or if you want to spend more money at the $5 level, you'll get access to all of that plus exclusive commentary tracks that I record. I'm actually really proud because I was able to pump out 3 commentary tracks in January. So in addition to last year's commentaries and past commentary tracks, you get access to my commentaries of Superbad and what else? Pet Sematary 2019 and the one that I just did, Shaun of the Dead. So, and I'm looking forward to hopefully doing 3 more this month, hopefully. I'm making that a goal for 2021, so we'll see. And then finally, if you pledge $10 per month, you get access to all of that, plus early access to episodes as I edit them, and also unreleased episodes and everything. So, yeah. So, all right. Well, that'll do it for this episode of The Obsessive Viewer. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thanks once again to Dean Kapsalis, and looking forward to see what he does next. Seeing what he does next. Yeah, that'll do it. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
And now, here's a short clip from our Patreon exclusive RSS feed. To hear the full clip and more exclusive Patreon content, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and become a patron at the minimum rate of $1 per month. Thank you and enjoy. One of my other favorite music moments was when I saw Motion City Soundtrack live, and I had kind of like I follow them on Instagram, and like I'd seen like every show they post like the set list and everything, and I remembered reading an interview with Justin where he was like, I like Happy Anniversary is like, this is where he talked about like how he got the inspiration for Happy Anniversary. And he's like, that's a song we'll probably never be able to play live because it's just too emotional. It's too tied to my family and everything. And so, yeah, so I'm like going through the set list on Instagram in the weeks leading up to when I go see them live, and I see Happy Anniversary popping up on it. And I'm like, oh fuck. Are they going to do this? Are they going to play this live? Am I going to get to see it live? And the coolest thing was like when I was at that show, they, I can't remember the order, but like they played LG Fuad, I guess, Let's Get Fucked Up and Die, and then went right into Happy Anniversary. And I'm like, these are two of my favorite Motion City soundtrack songs, and I got to see them live. It's so fucking good. Having said that, neither one of those are the number one on my list.
Oh, I was gonna say, I 2 minutes ago, I was like, wait, did he say that this was number one? Like, I don't think he said.
The Obsessive Viewer podcast is edited and produced by Matt Hurt and presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. For a full archive of our episodes, go to ObsessiveViewer.com/OV archive. You can also like our Facebook page and join the OV Facebook group at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer, and follow us on Twitter at ObsessiveViewer and at ObsessiveTiny, and follow our recurring co-hosts at I am Mike White, that's me, at R.A. Feckus, and at Burger_Lurker. If you enjoy the show, please take a couple minutes to leave us a rating and a quick review on Apple Podcasts. This is the easiest way to support what we do, and all it costs is a little bit of your time. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a PayPal donation at obsessiveviewer.com/donate, or support us on Patreon for recurring donations and access to commentary tracks and B-roll audio recorded exclusively for patrons at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or you can simply search for Obsessive Viewer at teepublic.com, T-E-E, public.com. For information about our annual live event showcasing short horror films from local filmmakers, check out shocktoberInIrvington.com. And for an archive of all our events, as well as news about potential future events, head over to obsessiveviewer.com/live. For more podcast content, you can find Anthology, Matt's solo podcast covering The Twilight Zone, and other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows at anthologypod.com and on Twitter at OVAnthologyPod. You can also find Tower Junkies, a podcast where Matt and Tiny share their love of all things Stephen King and his magnum opus, the Dark Tower series, at towerjunkiespod.com and at towerjunkiespod on Twitter. And finally, check out The Secular Perspective, Tiny's side project podcast, which tackles current events and life's big questions from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda at thesecularperspective.com. The theme music for The Obsessive Viewer comes courtesy of the band Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. Additional bumper music is provided courtesy of As Good As It Gets, which can be found at facebook.com/asgoodasitgetsband. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Kitty!